So you think this is another part of this chain of abuse that's been going on, and abuse of human rights, based on different things, be it class clashes, be it racial issues, be it just, prisoner rights, and so on and so forth. So what kind of potential role do you think UN can play in regulating these kinds of incidents and situations, be it in America, be it somewhere else in the world?
Well, there's the role the UN should play, and then there's the role that the UN does or can play. I would say that the UN has very limited possibilities at this point. During the Cold War, there were very active discussions going on about the international economic order, and that's one of the most important issues that must be addressed, and must be addressed by the United Nations. The developing world was what can I say? They were protesting vigorously, desperately, fiercely the unjust international economic order, where powerful developed countries would exploit the resources and the people of developing countries and prevent them from developing and using their resources to improve the standard of living of their own people. And when you have leaders, or had leaders, who were interested in using their country's resources for the benefit of their own people, they were very often removed from power, in some cases assassinated.
So we have this kind of situation in Baltimore. Let's return to that.
Yes.
I completely understand the point you're making. So we can transfer those notions to this particular situation. What the police and the government is doing now, they are dealing with the symptoms of the disease. So they are trying to, suppress the demonstrations. They are trying to make people calm down. They are trying to make this go away. And we cannot be sure that the investigation will reach some kind of justice about Freddie Gray's, sustained injuries and everything. But don't you think that the government should look at the roots of this problem, not the symptoms, the roots of the disease? And if, for example, we create normal human conditions for these people to live, to have normal jobs, to have great education, to have opportunities in life, then they would be they would be less likely to turn to drugs, to turn to criminal activities, and to become victims of police. And very much like black men are typecast, they say, like, everybody thinks that a black man is a criminal or a rapper, or it's like these are cliches, and we should get rid of those. But in order to do that, we have to create normal human conditions for these people, and we have to do it in America. We have to do it anywhere else in the world where we're dealing with this extreme poverty, which basically does not give people a chance to be people and to reach their potential.
Well, there are two obstacles to what you're describing. One of which is that, and by the way, I did want to say that I don't think we're dealing with the symptoms of the problem at all. I think we're trying to bury, disguise,
so we're not
or
dealing
camouflage,
with that.
the symptoms, to pretend there is no problem. There is a great deal of, distortion in the entire economic order, where the very high living standard of certain people and certain nations is based upon the exploitation and the plunder of people in the developing world, the theft of their resources. And this has been going on since the Europeans colonized the United States and Latin America. The slaughter of the Native Americans, the slaughter of the Incas, the Aztecs, the Mapuches in South America.
Mm-hmm. So you think the same thing is going on with black people, especially black men, in these kinds of incidents?
Yes.
And while you mentioned that the policemen, they are also poor white people usually. And the people who they persecute are usually poor black people.
Yeah.
So both are from the same class.
Yeah.
why wouldn't they be united? You know,
That's a very
why would
interesting
they
question.
go against each other? I mean, wouldn't it be natural to be united in this face of poverty and adversity?
Of course.
And try to achieve equal rights, you know, also equal economic rights for everybody.
Yeah. Well, we need leaders. And the probability is that a really effective leader might be either killed or co-opted. There are methods of preventing effective leaders. Martin Luther King was assassinated. Some of
As well as Malcolm X, you know, was
Yeah.
more radical with her, but
Yeah.
still he was
Yeah.
assassinated
and
as well.
a lot of the groups which were actually not racist, for example, the Black Panthers, saw an unfair economic system as the enemy. They did not see the white people as the enemy. And they worked together with the young lords who were Puerto Rican, who had the same point of view. And they worked with some medical students. I was present at that time at Cornell Medical School. And there was an organization called the Medical Committee for Human Rights, which was trying to get medical care facilities available to the most impoverished neighborhoods. And I was told by Margaret Ratner, an attorney at the Center for Constitutional Rights, that the Medical Committee for Human Rights was the #1 target of the FBI. This was an organization in the 70s providing medical care for demonstrators who were opposing the Vietnam War in Washington, many of whom were being tear gassed or battered. And so medical students went down to provide assistance. And they worked together with the Black Panthers and the Young Lords to try and get community control over health facilities. And
So do you think that if people unite just the way these people did, there would be hope to resolve
yes,
the roots of these
yes,
issues?
yes, that is ultimately the only hope. And
Because
that
people have to understand what and who they are fighting against
Exactly.
in reality. You know,
Exactly.
who is the real culprit here?
Yeah, and I think this is something that, shall we say, the establishment or the certain vested interests are trying to prevent, is that unification. Now, having poor white policemen attack black, impoverished black people is a good way to channel the rage and frustration.
Especially if we put a race label on it.
Yes.
It's another like divide et impera, divide
Exactly,
and
exactly,
govern.
exactly. They have, I'm sure, some top psychologists working out this particular agenda. And
Can we have hope, Clara, that, for example, international bodies such as United Nations would address eventually these issues and would interfere somehow to stop this from happening?
so far, the United Nations hasn't done very much. In fact, the best thing one could say that has happened were the Security Council vetoes by the Russians and the Chinese that prevented the United Nations from taking military action against Syria, because every time the United Nations has become involved, the Security Council has been involved to authorize military action. In the case of Iraq, in the case of Libya, you see not only failed states that can no longer function, but you see complete chaos, you see violence, you see countries that are no longer habitable.
I think
And then
we
the
should raise these issues on a constant basis so we could invite so much wanted attention, and maybe then these issues will get addressed. Commissions will be formed, decisions will be made.
Perhaps, but there are powerful interests that will oppose it.
Yeah.
And
Anyway, I think this is a very important issue, and it's not going anywhere from the agenda, and I'm sure you'll agree with this. And we will be watching this closely, giving updates to people about what's going on. And New York Times always covers these issues, and it's very good, you know, to watch them and how they unravel on unfortunately. But as journalists and as free people, we have to raise our voice against such injustice. And we have to be the fighters of human rights in every corner of the world,
Yes.
including US and UN.
Yes.
So, do you have any final word to say on the topic?
Well, I hope that your determination will be sustained. The present looks bleak. Perhaps it may have to get worse before it gets better. I don't know.
They say
But
it
it
gets
certainly
really,
seemed-
really dark
Certainly,
Before
it's
it-
getting worse.
before the sun rises. So
Yeah.
let's hope
Let's-
that it
yeah.
happens and the good things and the light prevails. This was Clara Stea, an acclaimed journalist from Global Research here at the United Nations, and I'm Nazloyan, and this is exclusively for iLur.am.